Some conflicts don't begin at the surface, they're born beneath it. In the quiet churn of identity, in the fragile tug of dignity, in the silent scream of being misunderstood. Negotiating the Non-Negotiable by Daniel Shapiro is not merely a book about resolving conflict, it's a deeply psychological, soul-probing journey into the hidden emotional currents that fuel our most stubborn disputes. Shapiro doesn't just teach us how to win an argument, he teaches us how to see it. How to recognize that often, what feels non-negotiable is not the issue itself, but the unspoken fears, the unhealed wounds, the stories we carry about betrayal, respect, and belonging. Whether in personal relationships, collaborative leadership, or political standoffs, Shapiro maps a path through the minefields of identity-driven conflict, where the stakes feel existential and the exit feels impossible. This reflection offers 7 lessons drawn from his work, each one revealing not just how to resolve tension, but how to rehumanize ourselves and those we stand across from. These lessons are both mirror and map, for anyone who's ever felt stuck in a conversation that wasn't about what it claimed to be. 1. The real conflict is often invisible. At the surface, a disagreement may be about money, a contract, a broken promise, but beneath that surface lies the true battlefield: identity. Shapiro calls these identity quakes, moments when our sense of self feels threatened. A father and son arguing over curfew may actually be wrestling over autonomy and control. A team breaking down over strategy might be protecting ego and credibility. When we misunderstand the real stakes, we argue past each other. His work teaches us to slow down, listen deeper, and ask, what is really being protected here? 2. The tribes we form can trap us. In the heat of conflict, we instinctively form us versus them dynamics, psychological tribes that define who is right, who is wrong, and who belongs. Shapiro reveals how these tribal mindsets distort reality and entrench division. The moment we lock ourselves into group identity, the other side becomes a caricature. We stop seeing individuals and start defending positions. One of his most powerful insights is this: if we don't consciously dismantle tribal narratives, they'll become the cages we argue from. 3. Emotion is not the enemy, it's the compass. Too often, negotiation strategies ask us to suppress emotion in pursuit of objectivity. But Shapiro flips this notion, arguing that emotion, when understood and respected, is not a barrier to resolution but a guide. In both personal and high-stakes political conflict, acknowledging emotion creates psychological safety. It lowers defenses. It reminds us that beneath the words are human beings with fears, longings, and a desire to be understood. Emotional fluency, then, becomes a strategic asset, not a liability. 4. Sacred values must be honored, not compromised. One of the most profound ideas in negotiating the non-negotiable is the role of sacred values, those deeply held beliefs we refuse to bargain with. Forcing compromise on these values often escalates conflict rather than resolves it. Shapiro encourages a different path: instead of forcing consensus, seek mutual recognition. Acknowledge what is sacred to each side, and protect that sacredness, even as you seek common ground elsewhere. It's not about diluting belief, but about humanizing conviction. 5. Power without perspective destroys connection. In collaborative settings, especially where hierarchies exist, it's easy to wield authority without empathy. Shapiro warns against this, because when people feel unseen or disrespected, they don't just resist ideas, they resist relationship. Whether in marriages, boardrooms, or diplomacy, power must be tempered by perspective. The best negotiators aren't just persuasive, they're curious. They ask, how does the world look from your side? That shift alone can thaw even the most frozen conversations. 6. Unspoken narratives keep the conflict alive. Often, the most toxic part of a disagreement isn't what's said, it's the story we tell ourselves about the other person. They're manipulative. They don't care. They always do this. These unspoken narratives harden into truth over time. Shapiro invites us to interrupt this cycle by naming the narrative, questioning its accuracy, and opening space for new interpretation. When we let go of certainty, we make room for possibility. And sometimes, the first thing we need to negotiate is the story. 7. Resolution begins with humanization. In the end, what Shapiro models is not just a method, it's a posture. A commitment to seeing the other as fully human, even when their behavior feels unjust. He tells stories from global diplomacy, marriage counseling, and business disputes, but in every story, the turning point is the same: someone chooses to rehumanize the other. That's where real negotiation begins, not with strategy, but with surrendering superiority. Not with argument, but with presence. In that space, what once felt non-negotiable begins to soften. In a world where disagreement feels dangerous and polarization seems permanent, negotiating the non-negotiable offers something more than technique, it offers hope. Hope that even in our most divided spaces, there is a way through that does not demand we erase our identities, but that we understand them. A way that honors both conviction and connection. Daniel Shapiro reminds us that conflict is not our enemy, disconnection is. And if we are willing to listen beneath the noise, name what matters most, and lead with curiosity, we may not only resolve the issues, we may recover the relationships.